All right, here's all the areas of concern with the rust. Starting with the hood, it's on the left side hood corner. This is the area where the latch grabs onto. That's rotted away. Hood latch still, or the prop rod still works, but all this is getting kind of weak. The other side, heavily pitted. Hood stays together just fine though, stays latched just fine. Opposite corners are in fine condition. These are the corners below it. Most of this is surface. This is a wear spot. Again, the other side. In the driver's footwell, this is where the majority of the rust is. This is the left side of the footwell. There's multiple holes along the seam. You can tell this has been patched before. This is a patch piece, not original. It extends all the way down under here. So that is something they did in the past. This upper corner, not as much rust, there's no holes, but it's getting kind of thin. And where the driver's footwell meets the trans, I guess is the trans tunnel, quite a bit of rust in this corner and up on the trans tunnel as well. Moving back on the trans tunnel, this is heavily pitted. There's a couple of spots showing through. And another hole. Again, heavily pitted. I did have this off to pull the transmission off maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So there are still some fasteners here and they do still hold it down reasonably well. But maybe half of what should be there. So that one's rusted out. That one, the nut plate's gone on that. That one's not doing anything anymore. That one's fine. And then moving back on the trans tunnel. This is under the seat, under the driver's seat. It's a few holes here. Let me get a light. This is the rear of the trans tunnel, driver's side. This area is pretty weak. And then the heavy pitting continues over to the passenger side. And I do believe it's just as bad on that side. It might be a touch better, but it's pretty bad on the rear end of the trans tunnel. Back here is decent. This is mostly light to medium pitting under the paint. I'm sure once you take the paint up, there'll be some surprises under there, but I don't see any holes. This area is heavily pitted. Passenger's footwell is a little bit better. There's heavy pitting along this seam. The trans tunnel on this side is better than the other side, but it's still pretty weak. Again, heavy pitting here. Better condition than the driver's side, but it's not perfect. There's the seat mount, passenger side. That is rusted through about 3/4 of the way. The other side of the mount, this side, the front side of the mount is okay. The other side of the mount is pitted. Heavy pitting here. That's clearly been painted over. Some time has passed. And a hole there. Rust on the center console, obviously. Rust on the seat rails. Not a ton, they do move. Here's under the filler neck. Not a lot of rust back there from what I can remember when I changed the fuel tank. And there was pitting under the fuel tank, but nothing major. Not a lot of rust under there, surprisingly. From the underside, this has been undercoated sometime in its past, I don't know when. Undercoating's flaking. Moderate pitting, especially around the drain area. All the bumpy unevenness is the undercoating. So it is hard to see the rust. But this undercoating does just flake away. And then moving to the rear. This is the noise you heard on the test drive. Or is it this one? It's one of these. It makes a racket. That is the noise. This cargo area is heavily pitted on the rear seal. You can see this area is rusted through, as well as here, and heavily pitted, rusted through. And the underside, light. There's a heat shield there, so you can't see a whole lot, but you can see the holes from the top side. So I would expect the entire cargo floor need to be replaced, obviously. The rear of the frame back here, surface rust. Some pitting. That's a very solid frame. Couple of holes. This was used as a spray paint on a couple of times. That's where the paint's coming from. As you move further back, there's more bubbling, but expect the whole thing to need to be replaced. There's a hole there. And I would expect that at least one time it's been painted, somebody painted over the rust. Not too bad under the rear heater. The rear heater does work. The fan works. It's not the original fan, but it does work. Heavy pitting, bubbling under the paint. Top sides of these wheel wells are surprisingly solid. Not a ton of rust on these. But the rear seats are rusted. And the other side. Might as well go underneath while we're here. Take a look. Here's the right side of the frame. Axle bump stop. Surface rust. It's really in pretty good shape for its age. This cross member has surface rust, or I guess it's the shock support has surface rust. Pretty good shape. Driver's side. A lot of that is undercoating. There's a layer of black over everything. You can see it right here on the heat shield. That is all undercoating. I don't know who put that on or when. Passenger side rear wheel well. Lots of undercoating, about what you'd expect for rust for something this age. Surface rust on the frame. Here's the passenger side outside of the frame rail. Cab support, or body mount rather. Another body mount. Just surface rust on these. Maybe minor pitting in areas. Still very solid. And passenger side frame rail up to the front axle. These spring hangers are pretty solid. The springs clearly could use a replacement. They're getting thin in the ends. There you can see the top of the lower side of the trans tunnel, driver's side footwell, where it's rusted through.